The arsonist had oddly shaped feet. Unique New York. Unique New York.
We're going to feed you guys some images, some photos, things like that. I want you guys' honest reactions. And this should be fun. Here we go.
What the hell is downrange right now?
The guy's got a good beat, dude.
And how do you have a drum mag for a 50 cal?
The guy looks like he's from Ukraine. He's probably killing Russians right now.
That's Zelensky.
That's
Zelensky right there.
It seems inevitable that was going to become an instrument at some point, right?
Dude, and he's just shredding it like it's an air guitar. Just
that should be an actual instrument in a band. A 50 cal. That would be. I mean, could you imagine?
He's not even. Let's talk about how much of a man he is. He's not even shouldering it. Good riddance.
Hey, she's here illegally. Get her out.
If the shoe fits.
It's about what I expected.
Bye.
I mean, it's a criminal act, you know?
Well, let's say Georgia college student faces deportation after running red light. Police discover her entire family has been living illegally. There's the key word, illegally.
You can't do the time, don't do the crime.
We have laws for a reason. Bye.
Say the left is a cult.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the whole of the left. Let's be fair. I can do the same thing with the right. And I can say, look, they're completely insane. Look at these nutbags on Twitter.
You'd be wrong.
Really?
How is it that the popular vote winner, Donald Trump, was a Democrat? Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, former Democrat, that I supported in 2020. And now the Republican MAGA movement, not the neocons, is an eclectic bunch of diverse views which debate each other. Charlie Kirk, Christian conservative, invites moderate pro-choice Tim Pool onto his stage to discuss those views to the public. On the left, what do you think would happen if you went and opposed their views at a public forum? You'd be threatened with violence. Booking liberals to come on my show or any other show, people in this
We have the same problem.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk.
I can sit in front of a libertarian like Dave Smith and Charlie Kirk at the same time, and we leave with beers in our hands, smiles on our faces. And Dave will say, Charlie, I really do appreciate it. I think you do good work. I know we disagree. The left doesn't do that. They firebomb your buildings. You could not define what they believe. It's impossible.
100% true. I think that's one of the good things on the right is that we can talk to each other. I have no problem talking to someone on the left and listening to them and having an actual conversation. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about this the other day. We have a podcast, and if someone on the left came on our show, I'd be happy to listen to them.
Yeah, knowing full well right off the bat that you're going to completely disagree with most everything they have to say.
And you think about how the news media has been organized. It's all about conflict. If you go on MSNBC and CNN, it's all about 45 seconds of conflict. And I think it raises anxiety, and I think people end up fighting about it. Podcasts are where it's at. Do you actually have a reasonable conversation with someone, whether you agree or disagree? Very rarely do people, from what I see, get in arguments about it. And the right now is doing it better than the left. The left just wants to, I just think because they don't really know how to articulate their points, and they don't have good points. They don't know how to.
They don't have great points, and the only talking point is if you disagree with me, you're a racist.
Yeah.
You're a neocon. We're going to throw insults and slander. That's why they campaign from their basements.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed. That's one of the things I've noticed over the years too. Is there's a lot less. In fact, I don't know if there's any left-wing radio shows, AM radio shows. There's lots of right-wing ones. But even podcasts, there's a huge disparity for right-wing ones. And that's because it just appears that they're more open to those conversations. Whereas, as you said, on the left, if you oppose them, you might get firebombed. There's more threat of violence for that. And it's more Antifa style shut you down.
Yeah.
You can't speak here. And I can only assume that that's because the arguments run out. The debate does not work for them. The debate does not make them look good in the end in a broad discussion. And I think either way, though, even from a nonpartisan perspective, having the discussion's a good thing.
Yeah. Look at anybody, is there anybody on the left like Charlie Kirk that will purposely put himself in a college campus where he knows the majority of the crowd is probably liberal / left leaning and probably going to oppose his views, but he'll sit there and debate them all day and pretty respectfully. He'll throw some stuff out there, but pretty respectfully and like there's nothing on the left like that. I don't see anybody,
Yeah, and it's not because they don't have educated, quote unquote educated or intelligent. They have very smart, very clever, very intelligent people on the left. So the fact that none of them have a talent where they can go to a college campus and have an open, broad discussion and be questioned on their positions.
It means their argument sucks.
Yeah. Well,
they're almost smarter than us. You think about it, like they've gotten us to fight with ourselves and each other and let them behind the curtain make the moves and do what push their agenda.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're just fighting amongst each other over, hey, do we like Donald Trump? Do we like, whomever? And they're just over there laughing and they're very smart. They just don't have anybody that can debate their point because their point is usually trash.
Well, and that's the thing. The loudest voices on that side are voices that you can't debate. They're either politicians, that are in a room where there's no room for questions, or it's the mainstream media, in which case it's just a single, it's a monolithic voice that there's not a discussion unless it's a cultivated discussion that they want to have. But yeah, there's not that opportunity to sit down in a public forum. In fact, that's what I loved about the TPA event is that Cenk was willing to do that from a left-wing perspective. I got a lot of respect for the fact that he showed up.
I do too.
That was kind of the lion's den for him.
But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on the left.
No.
You don't see that. What is it? MSNBC forced that to happen. They've got one conservative on there. Sometimes they have the guy from Shark Tank. And it's created a lot of debate, and it's created probably some viewership for them.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you notice about the people on that show that are on the left, they're angry, they're full of hate, they don't have joy in their life. They can't be, their views cannot be challenged, or they kind of go off the rails. I think when you have views that you really believe in, you can hear other people's views and not get over the top mad. And I think that's
because you're comfortable with where you stand.
You're comfortable with where you stand.
Yeah. So them disagreeing with you is not certainly not offensive.
Right.
But it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother
it's
you.
Fine.
Yeah.
I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. We can still be friends on my end.
Yeah.
We can still be friends. I go, hey man, I know you have some views that
don't
line up at all anywhere close to mine, but that's fine. We can still be friends. This is America after all.
Yeah. You dig deep enough with anybody, you're going to disagree on some core things. That has to be okay. You have to be able to shake hands either way. I think one of the things they do too is they take that perceived moral high ground of, well, we're not going to platform those people. We're not going to give them a platform to spew because obviously they're racist, Nazi, whatever. Yeah. They're every type of phobe, so we're not going to platform them. And it's like, no, it's not. They can platform themselves. They don't need you to platform them. You just don't want to have that discussion. But they mask it in a moral high ground stance to where they're doing the noble thing by shutting down that speech.
The greatest thing about that argument, though, and I love it, is that used to be a death sentence. Oh, this guy's a racist. This guy's, a Nazi, whatever. Now, fast forward 2025, people just like everybody's like, I'm kind of tired of hearing that.
Yeah.
Like I'm done. Like you can't just keep doing that. Like that's just been their playbook, and it's over. It's done.
It's taking the weight out of words altogether. Yeah.
He is.
What is he doing?
I think he's pooping in a hole in the tree.
That's a good trick.
Pretty cool. Oh wow! He made an ice cream cone. He made soft serve. Not a thrifty style cone. Wow.
That's a good trainer right there,
dude.
That's a.
You don't even have to pick up your. I mean,
is there any way to zoom in on that?
I don't think
that's
you
a
can.
soft serve. That's a Dairy Queen chocolate dipped. That's a soft serve cone.
He just left a full-blown dookie nodule on the side of that.
Did you see the concentration on that dog's face when he was doing it?
He knew what he was doing.
This wasn't just this is that's his Super Bowl right there.
Yeah, he's like, hey, everybody shut up and check this out.
Yeah.
No, it's not a Super Bowl. He does that probably every day.
Yeah, they say in a stressful situation you revert back to your training. I see it here.
He's been working on that from home with a tiny little ficus in his backyard at the side of the house. Like nobody's seen him working on this, and this
He
is
just
his
did,
baby.
it on display right here for millions of people to see. I like it. I like it. Fake news.
Yeah. So guys, check
Fake
this
news.
out.
This is the Nevada
Tell
desert.
me you believe this is real.
I can already tell this is the Nevada desert.
Look at those
Fake.
sparks.
Totally fake. Who's filming this, by the way? So the space shuttle just left the moon and they left somebody behind. Is that
So
what?
no, supposedly they had attached the camera to like the rover or something like that, and they were remote controlling that with a 3-second delay
In
back home.
1969.
In 1969. My thinking is, I can't watch that and believe that there are humans on the moon leaving the moon, coming home in that.
So
That's what my question was. That's where the humans are. They're coming home.
Those
in
are
that?
the humans
That's the humans?
leaving the lunar surface, coming back to.
where's the jet propulsion that should be coming out of that thing? Where's the also? You remember having a cell phone back in when did they come? The early 90s, let's say. The old brick phone that sounded like you were on the moon talking. It was all staticky and like sounded like you were in a cave. There's pretty clear audio.
So yeah, let's talk about who's filming that. What did they say? What's the?
So the official story is that they had taken one of their cameras, like a high-end camera, and I think they mounted it to the lunar rover. They mounted it to a piece of gear that they had left there, and that it was controlled back in America with a 3-second delay. And so they anticipated the countdown and they tilted the camera up, and that's how they caught that. My thing is, dude, so you can debate a lot of stuff on this all day long. Watch those little sparks that fly out, the lack of like dirt and debris on the ground. Do you really believe there's humans in there leaving the surface of the moon? It doesn't even look like a good movie.
Bollywood.
Ryan.
I mean, it does. It looks like a bad movie, but it's.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
so on the one hand, people will say, well, technology in the late 60s, 70s wasn't what it is today. I argue the F-22 was designed in the early 80s. So 10 years or so after this, we've created the most advanced fighter jet known to man. And this is the best we could do with NASA technology, billions of dollars of budget. Like basically a blank check. This is the best we can do.
Yeah.
Fake
well,
news.
what we don't know is, well, what we do know is the moon's atmosphere. They don't have as much gravity as we do, right? Of course. So how much propulsion do you need to get out of there? Would you see the propulsion? I mean, like this is so. Like we know what propulsion looks like when you leave the Earth. We know how much thrust, and we know what it looks from an onlooker. I mean, there's a lot of thrust that you have to
Required
create.
to overcome
How
gravity.
much do we need on the moon? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Is there a physics equation?
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, 100% there is. I don't know it.
You
But-
see
but
what
there's
you
still
see
like
what he's
those-
doing right now, Chris. He's doing the physics thing.
Oh, this is a physics video.
Okay, fair.
It's
fair
physics,
point.
guys.
Fair point. Fair point.
I would imagine, though, even though gravity is what a third or a sixth, I can't remember of what it, there of what
They
it
would
is
need
here.
as much thrust.
It would still
theoretically.
there would still be some visible thrust that you would
Something.
need.
Well, but
out
in
of
a
the
vacuum,
atmosphere.
though, can you have flame in a vacuum?
It's not a vacuum, right? It wouldn't be a vacuum up there if there's an atmosphere. There's an atmosphere, it'd be like here, but just a lot less of it. There is an atmosphere, right? Well,
On the
I don't know.
moon?
No, that's not true. There is not an atmosphere, but there is gravity. I don't know. I don't know enough about the moon and the atmosphere around the moon, or whatever lack of atmosphere they have to know. to
Probably
understand what
because
it should look
nobody's
like.
ever been there to give us the data.
Yeah.
I just, my gut just tells me there are not human men in that thing leaving the lunar surface.
So aliens.
Well,
That was an alien.
well, you look. So we should probably do another whole segment on just the moon landing, and we'll do this. I'll just feed you guys clips and like we'll look at that. But we should do a whole nother segment just on that.
Yeah.
And hash out some of these ideas because there's a whole lot of aspects. And we could talk about that forever. But all right.
Can we do an episode on Eagle Rare?
Pete Hegseth says troops with gender dysphoria have 30 days to leave service voluntarily. Transes out at the DOD. It's not popular, but I agree. You know, our military forces are there for one reason, and that's to kick ass when we need them to. And if you're worried about dudes having periods and getting pregnant, I think you're probably just not fit for the military.
Yeah. So I think, and it was actually pretty controversial at the time, but when Clinton came out with the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," oddly enough, a left-wing policy. I'm kind of more aligned with like, I don't care, dude. If you're gay and you want to serve, I don't care. Like, don't bring that on me. I'm not bringing it on you. We're here for a totally different reason. This isn't about, you know, pulling chicks at a bar. This is about service. Doesn't really matter. But on this end, why it matters to me is because it's the attention and the big deal that I'm trans and this is what I want to do. We certainly shouldn't be paying for it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's like this big production, because you know more than anything, what is it? Like team first, right?
Yeah.
The team is more important, mission, the team, but like it's never about the
You're
individual.
the last one.
Never about it's always about the team and the mission, and like this makes it about the individual and not so much about the team. And I feel like, I mean, if you're serving with a trans person and they're capable of doing the job, you don't necessarily care. That you might disagree with it, but you don't necessarily care at that moment because they're doing the job and they're doing it well. But like this.
Well, I think the problem with that is trans people, in my opinion, have something wrong with them mentally. And if you claim to be trans, there's an inherently you have some kind of psychological disorder and you shouldn't be in the military. That's my default.
Well, it's hard to judge too, where does a psychological disorder start and stop? And what psychological disorders are more severe than others, you know, because you have, you know, you could look at the word dysmorphia, like people have body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're not physically capable of doing a big job. Gender dysmorphia is obviously something completely different. But when you have mental health concerns, that's a trick.
But you get people killed.
Thing.
There's different jobs in the military, and maybe we could parse those out. I think, of course, of what I did, and not a chance. Could you have someone that has mental issues? You know, like you really have to be squared away, and you can't be worrying about like whatever trans people worry about because they're, you know, I'm a guy in a girl's body or whatever. You can't worry about that. You've got to be focused on the mission. And
well, yeah, they're more worried about everything being fair and everything being like at that level, at the level of, you know, the special ops community. It's like, as much as people don't want to hear it, you 100% need the most alpha male mentality, the most what the left would call toxic masculinity. Those are characteristics that you want at that level. You just want it.
That's a good point. So if you're a man pretending to be a woman, and in let's say spec ops, you're feminine and you're just not going to be able to do the job. And if you're a female trying to be a man, you're not a male. You're not a masculine male either way. And so you're going to have a hard time even getting through the training. That's just the reality of it. We're talking about, you know, kind of spec ops. What can they do? Can they be a bosun's mate on a ship and clean the side of the ship? Probably, you know. So I mean, I don't know how you parse that out as Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense. I mean, that's a hard thing. But when it comes down to the war fighters, the people actually out in the field getting killed, and their job is to kill. Yeah, probably not.
Let me like ask you guys. So, to play devil's advocate, if you're on the left and you see this and you go, basically, this is exactly what they did to us over the COVID vaccine. It's the same thing, only different terms. How do you think that argument frames up?
In what sense?
So basically, telling somebody what I'm guessing is, so according to this headline, troops with gendered dysphoria. So these are people that are already in. And he's saying 30 days to leave service voluntarily. It's essentially the same thing with the vaccine. Like you get the vaccine.
Yeah, but that's just the general public. You're just living. With a vaccine, you're a citizen. The military, it's a voluntary organization, right? Like it's a voluntary organization to go do really hard, terrible things. And so it's a different boundary. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, but I'm just wondering how would, like, is that what you would, if somebody on the left came and said, well, this is the same thing, is that your argument? Is that what you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're all, when it comes to COVID, we're all just citizens here. We're just trying to.
Yeah, that doesn't discriminate against man,
Yeah.
woman, trans,
When
not trans.
you
gay, straight.
volunteer for the military, and the military rejects lots of people who are totally straight,
Well, they reject people, and I know this from friends. They reject people that are physically capable, that are studs, but because they had like a GED, they dropped out. And at the time they still take those people. They have like a certain, okay, we're going to take this many of those. Like, so these people they're probably awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of rejection. It's a
rejection,
selection process. Even at the base level of the military, it's a selection process, and you know that going in.
Well, people didn't get recruited to war over flat feet. My dad didn't have to go to Vietnam because he had a perforated eardrum.
Yeah.
So when you look at the fact that there are minor details that don't make you an ideal person to be in those situations, and then you start taking mental concerns, mental dysmorphias, that's a bigger issue. But I think too, when you're talking about from a legislation perspective, you could argue semantics. You could make the argument that there could be a trans man who was maybe physically in a better position, mentally even maybe in a better position than half of the men that are in some squad that you're in. But when you're legislating though, you have to make massive sweeps. You have to use generalities.
Yeah.
In general, is that a good idea? In general, they decided not to take people who had certain, like even for Vietnam, who have had certain diseases, who have flat feet, who have perforated eardrums, who have, they made broad sweeping generalities. Like, we're not going to take this group of people because that's not ideal.
And it's because they knew that when you left, you were going to have flat feet, perforated eardrums, no knees.
Yeah.
Bad
You can come back.
They don't want to pay for you.
You can come back with it, but you sure as hell ain't leaving with it.
This is perfect segue into G.I. Jane, the movie, the most realistic military movie I've probably ever seen.
I feel like I just saw something come out that like some chick is trying to sue the Navy because her hopes and dreams of being the first lady female SEAL was, I don't even remember what the headline was, but there's something coming out.
And I don't know this, I'm totally speculating. Do they not even, they can't even go to selection, or they take everybody and you just wash out when you wash out?
I don't know how it is now.
Because I would imagine they have a certain amount of spots available per class.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's going to be attrition, but to start, you can't have 300 people in one class. It's 60 people maybe? 50,
you start
60?
with 150.
150. Yeah. Knowing that was 80% attrition? 60, 80?
Depends. Every class is
so you're going to get, 30 when you're done, but so you can't just go, hey, this is open to everybody, apply and you're in. Yeah. But they're not banned from applying.
As far as I know, they're not, but it doesn't look like any females have made it. And you got to think about the training itself. It's physically demanding, and most women are not as strong and cannot do those types of things. I don't even know if it has to do with the mental thing. No. I mean, the mental thing's the secondary. I mean, it's the most important part, but it's the secondary thing. Like, it's hard to even do some of it's very hard to do some of the physical stuff. And it would seem like, just the amount of pull-ups that we have to do, women just aren't as good at pull-ups.
Yeah, it's mostly the upper body stuff too.
It's upper body. It's a lot of upper
holding
body
that
stuff.
boat overhead.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Financial crimes that occurred in the week prior to 9/11. Let's get into it. On September 6th and 7th, the Chicago Stock Exchange handled 4,700 put options for United Airlines stock. That was 90 times above normal. And it was 285 times above normal on the Thursday before the attacks. On September 10th, there was 4,500 put options purchased on American Airlines. That was 60 times above normal. No similar trading occurred on any other airline. Only those two. How convenient.
Real quick, you're a stock guy, Chris. What's a put option?
So the put options basically mean that they were shorting the airlines. They were
anticipating
failure, financial failure. Yeah. So if you feel, rather than a traditional stock purchase where you're betting on the growth and the gain, you're basically betting on the exact opposite. So basically what he's saying is between the two airlines, there's close to 10,000 put options. And these are just in the days before.
What do you say, 60 times the normal amount?
So yeah, it's like 60 to...
Can they track who those people were?
Well, that's the question.
I mean, if it wasn't Nancy Pelosi, then yes, they could.
When you're talking stocks, there's a paper trail. Yeah, like you have to submit that. There's a process for purchasing and selling stocks.
Just on its face, that's weird, right? Just on its face, 60 times more than average on that day.
It's an anomaly so strong. There's no conceivable way it was just people's trading instinct to do that. Not on that level. Maybe a slight variation. Maybe there's some, but even when there's significant insider trading, it's never on that level where you have 10,000 trades over two companies, increases of 60 to 85%. That type of anomaly, I don't feel like it tells any other story than people knew.
So you're saying it's on the level of improbability as, say, the moon landing?
Maybe even more so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because
Case closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we did say that there's physics.
Okay. There's physics. Yeah.
But with with this, I think there's the anomalies are so strong. It's so undeniable. And you have two different ways of looking at it. Either a lot of people with some money had to know, or maybe a few people with a lot of money knew.
Or power. Or
Obviously, the
influence.
people who pulled it off know. And the big debate is who pulled it off. Was it inside? Was it outside? Was it a mixture? Was it a collaborative thing between multiple countries? But the fact that the stocks predicted this was going to happen, and anybody who would have been paying attention to those stocks in those early days, they would have been able to tell you. Anybody who was really paying attention, they would have been able to tell you something is happening. Something's going to happen to these airlines in the next 2 days. If you're watching like a hawk, you would not be able to see that type of movement and not know.
But this guy's Arab. Do you think he's had a part of it?
Yeah.
He's got the beard. He swapped a turban for the ball cap, but
Well, it looks better on camera.
yeah. Maybe he's trying to deflect. He's like actually doing the video to try to make himself
Maybe it
seem
was
innocent.
Maybe his last name is Pelosi.
So it's just this is just a it wasn't me
Muhammad.
video.
Or Bin Laden.
Or Bin Laden.
Yeah, and so and that's one thing. The data might be out there, but that's one of those things where I don't know if it was a lot of people with a moderate amount of money, or was it? It could have been just a few whales that did massive trades. But for you to for it to be shorted by over 50%, largely over 50%, that tells me it was a lot of people.
That's like one of those things that they go, man, it would take an act of Congress.
Well, and here's one of the things. So you have the 9/11 Commission, so this is one of those things where if this didn't serve the establishment in some way, they would leave no stone unturned and they would expose everything and they would drag people through the
There's a lot
mud.
of that
and,
going on.
Yeah.
And we had a 48,000 page report that exposed no one and nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did this guy Crooks try to shoot Trump?
Yeah.
We don't know. Who is he? We don't know.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't that come out? We don't know.
But we do know the fact that Trump might have overestimated the value of Mar-a-Lago however many years ago.
Oh, yeah, right.
To a T, and that he has exact amount of classified documents. We know that for sure.
Well, and that's what's odd. I think that's what you have to ask yourself with some of these disparities is why that becomes a televised nonstop news thing that he might have inflated.
They hate him.
But isn't it odd that they'll give that level of attention and investigation and go way out on a limb to try to prove a thing when there was no crime committed? The banks are happy. He's happy. Yet you have an actual crime, like not just a crime, a horrible catastrophe. And there's a lot of unturned stones.
Doesn't the stock exchange or Congress have the ability to, like on a day, like, where stocks are just in the tank, don't they have the ability to shut it down?
They
to,
did.
To
Yeah.
prevent further.
Yeah. After 9/11, they froze trading, I think, for 6 days or so.
Did they not have that ability before? Like after Black Tuesday or whatever?
I don't know if the ability was created through that scenario or not. I'm not sure, but I know that they did
Because
freeze
you
them
would
after
think
9/11.
if it was not some sort of inside job, they would go, dude, people are losing money. Holy cow, shut this down. People are going to panic. Let's shut it down. If they just let it go, then maybe.
Yeah, but then would that create a situation where they can just shut it down every time that there's a situation. I mean, that's like controlling the markets, you would think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, but they'll do it under the guise, or maybe not a guise, but they'll do it under the pretense that
National security.
yeah, in financial security, economic security, that they don't want the trading.
That's a great term.
They don't want panic trading happening.
National security.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother conversation, as whether or not that has actually any merit. But this is another one of those subjects where we need to do a whole segment on just this and just hash through some of the debates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Larry needs to poop. No. If you could just spread them in front of that one.
If you can make soft serve like that dog did, I got $100 in my pocket.
Not for you, but
I mean, I'm just making a statement. I got $100 in my pocket.
Yeah,
I'm not going
that's
to give
a
it to you. I'm just saying.
All right.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
never seen this guy before. What's he famous for, Steve?
Well, is there any way that you could possibly? I mean, the image is at this point. This is just a bodybuilder right now.
Yeah.
Until
He looks like a nice guy,
totally nice guy. Look at the smile on his face. He's just kind of like, hey man, I'm just here. I'm just hanging out.
hanging out.
You know?
I got probably a thong on.
Yeah.
You know,
Or not, but either way, it's
he
impressive.
looks like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he played linebacker for some college. I don't know.
How would you rate the
Look
nips?
at those
Does that
eyes.
tattoo on his arm say Big Wood?
How would you rate the nips?
Pretty good, actually. Maybe a 9 out of 1 to 10
Wow.
scale.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, not too big, not too. I mean, it looks like it's chilly in that room.
I know you don't give out those high numbers lightly.
No, yeah. Getting a 9. Come on, it's got to be extraordinary.
He's gonna milk it.
Texas judge and 5 other officials arrested on vote fraud charges.
Oh wow, May 8th. This just happened.
Texas judge and 5 other officials.
This is mostly a ballot harvesting situation. Where
In which election does it say?
Yeah.
Does it specify?
this is the last election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what side of the aisle do they?
Well, that was going to be my next question to you guys.
I'm gonna.
I
You're
think
taking
they're
a wild
both.
guess.
I mean, I'm sure it's Democrat, but I would say both parties are subject to the same pull of cheating and trying to get elected.
Yeah,
So it's hard to say.
I just lean Democrat because they've always accused of the right of what they're actually doing themselves.
Yeah. Well, and
However,
guys-
I wouldn't be surprised if this was
It doesn't
a.
surprise me either way, to be honest.
Well, is this just a state judge? So this isn't like a
Yeah,
federal
Texas
judge.
judge.
Not like this isn't an appointed. This is like on our ballot where you vote for the judge, but nobody
an
votes for
elected
one.
state
Okay.
judge. Yeah. Well, and you guys, I don't know if you guys have heard different, but I've never even heard a conspiracy theory of any Republicans doing any voter fraud. I'm not saying that can't happen or
Well,
doesn't
they started
happen.
saying it after Trump won because there's no possible way he could have won. Right.
Right, but
Now,
there was
all
no
of a sudden,
like cited
there's no
examples.
documents. Right. There's no documents, but they started saying, "Oh, he cheated. Look at this," and it's like, oddly enough, you said it was impossible 4 years ago. Now it's all of a sudden possible.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the Mules documentary, where they actually showed metadata and some type of evidence, and you can buy the evidence or not.
I think it comes down to, I think both are equally as pulled to cheat, because election is the prime thing when you're a politician. You have to get elected. But it comes down to your values. And I think Democrats, just in general, they're not Christians. They don't have a center value system, and they will do whatever it takes to make sure that they get what they want because the ends justifies the means. I do think Republicans, on the other hand, tend to have some kind of moral compass. That doesn't mean that they're totally immune to voter fraud or trying to rig an election, for sure. I mean, this is a powerful. It's a powerful thing to try to. If you had it laid in front of you to cheat and you could win, would you do it? I mean, that's a tough thing to do when you're basing your entire rest of your life on getting elected.
Well, I know the Koch brothers, familiar?
Oh yeah,
Super wealthy. They're right wing leaning guys.
Yeah.
Have been accused of maybe, I don't know about voter fraud, like of this magnitude, but definitely accused of not necessarily playing by the rules to try to help get like they were Bush.
It comes down to your values, man. It comes
Yeah.
down to whether
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
willing to sell your soul for this job. And
Yeah,
this
well,
is-
and I agree fully, and I think there's deceit everywhere. There's liars everywhere, and there's pieces of garbage, and there's great people everywhere, in all roles, all walks of society. But by and large, like you said, I think the conservative side does tend to have people who have some type of moral codec that they
yes.
ascribe to, whether it's Christianity or, but I think it's very safe to say that honesty is not a left-wing virtue.
Right,
It's
for sure.
win
Well, that's
by any
one of the
means.
reasons why they hate the right wing so much.
Yeah.
Because like the stance on abortion for probably the biggest hotbed topic is not that I'm not trying to control, like, I don't care what you do with your body in the sense of get piercings, get tattoos, but you're talking about killing a human life. Now I have a problem with that because of the moral compass. It's not about control per se. It's more about this is murder.
Yeah.
So the left thinks that that's totally cool.
One thing I've noticed too, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I don't feel like the right is organized enough to pull off mass voter fraud. I feel like
there's
I
too
feel like
much
that's a
infighting.
deep state establishment type thing that's highly coordinated, just like Antifa. Like the right wing doesn't have an Antifa, and people can claim that like Proud Boys and some of these KKK groups, just because they tend to lean more right, that
When you say when you say KKK, do you mean the organization that was founded by Democrats?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
one? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that we're talking about the same.
Get that out
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
But yeah, the right doesn't have an Antifa. The right doesn't have a Foot Clan, a Ninja Turtle Foot Clan like Antifa. Like there's coordination happening on the left from a much higher level. There's an indoctrination. I think there's an underground coordination where you see people being bussed into events. You have Antifa. You have this mass voter fraud where it's like all over the country. There are people who are put in these positions to count ballots and stuff. You just don't see that on the right.
Well, if you think about it too, so on the right, you have the MAGA Republicans. Remember when we had the Tea Party? You have libertarians. You have just conservative. On the left, you have left. They've done a fantastic job, and one of the reasons why they're kicking our ass so bad. They've done a fantastic job of messaging of just unified against one particular thing. With lately for the last 8 to 12 years, it's been Trump, right? Like they just stay unified. And it's just the left wing. It's just the Democrats. There's no that I know of. There's no Democratic party of you have Bernie, who's kind of like a socialist but sides with them because otherwise he's out by himself on an island. They've got one unified message. They've got one unified agenda. And then with the right, you have, I'm a libertarian. Oh, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm a Tea Party. Oh, so we do so much infighting and so much like we're not on point. We're not unified. Even in Congress, having the majority right now, you would think, dude, stuff should be flying through.
Yeah.
But it's not, because you have Republicans going, no, I don't like that, so I'm going to side with these guys just because I don't like this.
It's more rogue, and that's kind of a good thing. It's more free thinking. Like I would rather.
That's how it should be, really.
I don't love politics in general. I don't love parties. I think it's all a division tactic. But if I would be, if the slate was clean and there were two new parties formed, I would definitely gravitate towards the one where there's a lot of discussion. A lot of. I don't need everybody to like that monolithic thinking. I think is dangerous.
Yeah. Look at what happened to Kirsten Sinema, right? She ran as a Democrat. You look at most of her views and they're Democratic. And I didn't even, at first, I was not a fan. Not that I'm a huge fan now, but like I became a fan when she basically got booted out of the party because she sided for more times than not what was best for Arizona, what she's supposed to be doing. Not, hey, this is what the left wants. She goes, you want that, but that's not good for my state, so I'm not going to support that. And then she got chastised, and now she's no longer. She said she's retiring. She's not going to run again, but that's because she knew she was going to get smoked.
Yeah. So here's a question for you guys: Where do you think that coordination comes from? When you have one party who's notorious for busing people to political events and political rallies and protests and very coordinated voter fraud and Antifa. Like that all takes like. anyone who's ever organized or managed any type of function or event knows it's quite a bit of work, and to get a large group of people like-minded and coordinated to do the same thing, there's an infrastructure behind something like that. Where do you guys think that comes from?
I think it comes down right to the base of what we believe as Democrat and Republican. As Republicans, we want to be left alone. And we don't want people in our business, and we don't want to be in other people's business. And that base ideology permeates itself through the entire population of conservatives. So I think ultimately we don't want that. We want to be left alone. And then therefore we don't want to like put that burden on other people. I think the Democrats, on the other hand, they're happy to organize. They're happy to control everybody. They're happy to want to tax everybody. And I think it ends up coming down to what we believe at the core. I'm not interested in trying to run your life.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in trying to run a Democrat's life. Like, do what you want to do. Just let me do what I want to do. But the Democrats aren't like that. So they end up organizing themselves better.
Yeah.
They end up wanting to control everything. They want to control not just the Democrats, but the Republicans and the whole population. And I think that's where it stems from.
Well, so and maybe a deeper question is, who's coordinating that? Who's funding that? You can't coordinate a potluck without a meeting,
Yeah, I think so. Part of how they get so organized and they get so much turnout to those type of events, the Antifa type stuff, is so Republicans, like Ryan said, I just want to be left alone, man. Like I want the government to do what the Constitution says it's supposed to do, and that's it. There's right and wrong. There's black and white, right? There always has been. We're starting to get into this gray area, and well, the Constitution says this, but well, no, it says what it means, and it says what it says for a reason. But for the most part, like for me, I'm not going to a protest.
Yeah.
Even if it's a right wing, like I'm not going because I have work. I have a family. I have stuff to take care of.
Just leave me alone.
That's me being a dad and a husband first and foremost. And I have a job. I have a responsibility to my employer. So I'm not going to, just toss those responsibilities so I can go have my voice heard. I'm going to have my voice heard at the ballot box, and then I'm going to go about my life.
Right.
The left has a lot of people that are just sitting around dude, I love unemployment. This is awesome. I don't have to work. Like, hey man, you're going to take care of me. You're going to give me, dude, we're talking about now incentivizing people. Hey, we're going to give you $5,000 to have kids.
Yeah.
Like, so it's easier to get those people mobilized when they've got nothing to do in the first place. If you look at any of those people that are there, it's never, because there are some people that are, very successful, wealthy company owners or CEOs that are Democrats. And guess what? They're not showing up to those because they have the same thing that we have. I got a company to worry about. I got a family to worry about. I'm traveling. I'm busy. Now maybe I believe in what you guys are doing, but I'm not showing up. It's easy to get people to show up when they have nothing else going on, I feel like.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. In fact, that might be something that we have a further, like a broader discussion on, because I've actually thought about exactly what you've said. Like, I obviously am completely for free speech and everyone's right to protest. I don't need to agree with you. I will defend your right to say what you want to say and protest what you want to protest, even if I adamantly disagree with everything you stand for. I want you to have that right. I want to keep that right. As much as I believe in that, I've never felt compelled to go to a protest, and that seems like there's a disparity in logic there, but I'm not sure that there is. I think that's a discussion we should have at some point. Like, why do people go to those, and what would it take to get me to go to one? Because I do believe in them.
I think there's a lot. I think on the left, a lot of people on the left, not everybody, they're empty. They're trying to find something to fill the gap.
So it's meaning and virtue
There's
signaling.
meaning.
And,
Are you saying the cats aren't doing it?
The cats aren't doing it for sure, but there's some for people on the right that like cats too.
They need their own.
I
body.
know
That's true.
from
a few.
experience.
I know a few, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if the mic picked up on that, but our buddy Larry talking about how for financial assistance and for like in disaster type scenarios, in order to get that assistance, you have to sign up for a protest, contractually sign up for a protest. So it's almost, yeah, it sounds like a lot of them are incentivized in shady ways, or even strong armed. You know, I remember seeing a video too. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's a video where this guy was saying that there was an ad put out where people will get paid, you know, to be at a certain protest for a certain amount of time. And so he went to this protest and he started the clock as soon as the protest started, because it was clear once they all got off the buses and the protest was like going, they're like, it's active now. So he started his watch and like clockwork. I think it was a 2-hour time period they were paid for. Like clockwork, as soon as that 2-hour minute hit, people just start falling off. He's like, "Where's everybody going?
I feel
Is your
like,
2 minutes up?"
Dude, I feel like most, you know, and we're talking in generalities here, but I feel like most conservatives, family-oriented, God-oriented, we focused on our life and the things that we're doing internally, and we're focused inward, a little bit outward, of course, but we're not we don't have something to prove to the world.
Yeah.
And we're full. We have everything that we need to lead a happy life just with the small circle we have. And then there's the other side that feels like they have to like try to help people all around the world, but they can't help themselves. They can't help their own family. They're totally miserable at home. And they're filling this void that they think that the Democratic Party can fill, or some kind of Antifa or some kind of cult can fill, and it never gets filled. So they bounce around and they try to fill it through this ideology of left-wing thinking.
And if you throw a big enough tantrum, it shows everybody in your circle how much you care about that thing.
And you get news media, and that's like, for a short period of time, that's exciting, and you get this small fulfillment, then it goes away, and you got to do it again. It's like almost like a drug or an addiction.
Well, then they're sold. I mean, just look back. Baltimore, Chicago. Like, look at these places that are just cesspools, and just Detroit, and they've been left run for the last 40, 60 years. So they sell minority groups. Hey, man, we're here for you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to, not only just minority groups, but like middle class, working people. We're for the working man. Well, there's not a policy that I remember that has necessarily, I'm a working man, middle class, that has benefited me so much that I was like, man, this is a great idea. I should vote for this guy next time. But the people that, they first of all assume that you're not capable of making your own decisions. They say things like, well, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's indicating that you guys, this group
like
of people
government's
can't make their own decisions. You're not educated enough to make your own decisions.
Yeah.
And these people,
we don't believe that.
You have to
keep
ascribe to
falling
an
for it.
identity.
Or that the government is somehow like,
Yeah.
you can't live without the government.
Yeah. And what's ever gotten better? What's ever gotten
Get
better?
the fuck out of here.
If this,
I'll happily live without you guys.
if this were true, if what they're promising is true, Baltimore would be a paradise. It'd be a nirvana of just happy, everything's great, green, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that in some circles, the only thing that you should be binary about is your political views. In fact, you are demanded to be binary in your political thinking. Not your sexuality, not your gender, not your religious beliefs. You can be wishy-washy and you can blow with the breeze on anything else, but you better get in line with your views, you know? All right, so here's a question for you guys. And I know we've talked about this one a long time, but that's good. What would it take? Because obviously you guys are freedom of speech. You are pro the freedom to protest and to speak your mind. And what would it take, if anything, to get you guys at a protest? What would the topic or subject or thing have to be? Would you go to one ever?
Hard to say. Probably not, but because, like I said before, you focus on the things that matter, family, your small community around you. But then there comes a time, I think, that men have to be men. If that came to that point where, like, I think about it a lot, like if the government took so much control, like, all right, I'm gonna grab my guns, I'm gonna protect my property, my family, and my house, and all that stuff, and you think you can come take me away, or you can come put me in jail. That's, I think, where, I mean, that's where I stand. I would think that most men stand in that place, masculine men who have families to protect. Like, I don't need to go out to some protest. I don't know how much that does. I don't know if I'd really be excited about that, but you start trying to infringe on me and come take my property, or take something of mine, because, like we see with the Skynet in China, or as that comes over, as money becomes digital and the government controls your money, and then they can shut things off. That's where things get they cross the line.
Mm.
And so then that's when men have to step up and go, okay, that's too much. Men, I don't know. I think you hear a lot of women and beta males just yelling for no reason. It's like, whatever, like, okay, you can yell. None of this matters. Like, you see all this political fighting, and you're like, it's not making a big impact. There's just a little sway this and that way. But when it really comes down to it, I think that's when men have to step up. That's where I see myself, like, actually getting involved. Like, do I got to protect my property? I got to protect my family, and then potentially protect your way of living.
And I think by that point, and I agree, I think by that point the time for protest is over.
Yeah,
protest has happened. It's not worked, and it's time for action. And I think that's my kind of
time for action. That's right. It's action, right? Like, going to a protest doesn't feel like action. It feels like kind of.
And so, sometimes they work. Sometimes a protest can disrupt enough things that certain corporations will go, you know what, dude, fine. It's easier to just do this. We'll make a little less money, but right now you're costing us. But that type of actual, if we're talking about like free speech and that type of, like, something that I would feel moved to, like, dude, I need to be a part of this. That would be something that's so big that, again, I think the time for protest would be over, and it's time now. It's a matter of, look, dude, protest didn't work. Now it's time for action.
You don't see anybody at protests that are like, you see college kids, they don't know anything. Like, I was a college kid, I didn't know anything. And you see people that don't have jobs. Like, what is this? Like, it's not important.
Yeah.
News makes it important, but really it's not important, because these people are looking for something. They're filling a gap. They don't really have anything to do. They're trying to be significant in this way. They feel like that's the way they can be significant.
Yeah, I feel
it
like,
doesn't seem valuable.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and like you said, you got to prioritize, and for a family man, there's better things to do.
Yeah.
I think for me, if I was going to show up at one, and this whole concept's interesting. I haven't really thought about it this deep, but being supportive of the right to protest, but never going to any. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, if I was going to do it, like, it would have to be like kind of an apolitical thing. I wouldn't do it because of politics. Like, that's like the definition of political pawn. Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Like, I don't want to go do that. I don't want to go do it to support a party. When I think the parties themselves are created for division.
They're going to let you down in the end anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or any individual politician. That's very rarely.
Yeah.
You won't see any political stickers on my car. You won't see, very rarely will you see any of that stuff, because it's like, well, this is just one man.
Yeah. And I might agree with this person, and they support this thing, or this person, and they support this thing. But, like, I don't want to be a political pawn. I hate politics. I hate that there's two parties. So I think what it would probably take for me to show up, it would just be the topic. It would be something that meant something to me and my family and my and I would have to feel like going to that event was more than just a sideshow. Mm-hmm. It would mean that me showing up there actually mattered and meant something, and it would probably be like, I would need to feel like spiritually led. Like, I would need to feel like this morally, like, I feel like the Holy Spirit, like, wants me to be there. Like, I need to be there. I need to take my kids there. Like, like, this matters.
Yeah.
And I'm physically there.
Yeah. And honestly, the thing that works better than protest, which people don't understand, and I found this to be true through experience through the, with the firefighters union, like, the call to action is call your senator. And local politics is far more important than federal politics, because everything starts here, right? So it's like one of those things where, hey man, this is about to pass. Call your senator, tell him you're not happy. Well, if you get enough people that flood their local senator, the state, like they will budge. 100% will budge because they get 300 phone calls and emails and they start going, okay, I got an election in a year. If this many people are called, there's more people that are unhappy that just didn't call. And those things work far better than going and hopefully peaceful protests. But, protest these days seems to mean firebombing buildings and police stations and whatever. But actually calling your senator and going, dude, I'm not happy and I'm not going to vote for you. And I'm going to tell everybody I know. And I'm going to those things actually work. So I'll do that all day. I'll send an email, I'll make a phone call, but to actually go out to an event, it's not my style.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and I think, and just to wrap up this whole conversation on this topic, I think that's one of the disparities is I think the further left you go, there's more of just a virtue signaling, like me and my friends and my little group, we're going to feel important if we do this. And we're making, this is an historic thing and we're going to make a big difference here. And we're going to, whereas on the right, it's like, I feel like the more right you go, it's more, dude, I got to budget my time, I have people counting on me and people who love me and, I have family and I have things I have to do. And I don't have to, like that. I can't prioritize that because I feel like me being there physically is going to make no difference to that scenario, but it'll make a big difference if I'm here.
Home.
That has to be the priority. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. Oh. Isn't the saying "loose lips sink ships"? Or is she just working with a real bat down there?
Definitely concealed carry.
Yeah. I didn't think the left was for that. That's a real hog right there.
Oh, dude! If it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, and then there's that whole Joan Rivers video. You guys have seen that.
Yeah. We're talking about Obama being gay, I think.
Well, and Michelle Obama. And what she is.
You mean Big Mike?
Yeah.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, my favorite is the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't think I'm going to go against the grain here. And I don't think those are conclusive at all, to be honest. I think that's just the way that the pants
do we need to watch it again?
move.
Are you going Anchorman? It's the pleat in the pants. I'm actually taking it back to the pants store right now.
The way the pants are moving.
You can literally see both of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's slow it down. Let's
Let's
zoom in.
Let me see if I can slow it down on the stream for you guys.
Okay.
Oh yeah, here we go. There's both right
That's
there.
a bulge right there.
I think
that's a bit of a moose knuckle. That's
all I know is I've never seen that happen to my wife in any anomaly ever.
Look, all I know is she should be proud of that. She's working with a real bat. That's a Louisville slugger right there.
I want to see the tip. I want to see the circumcised tip.
I won't believe it till I taste it.
Whoa, hold on. That's pretty assumptive. How do you know she's circumcised?
True. Why would she wear that though?
That's what I'm saying. Why aren't you wearing underwear? If you know you're going to be dancing around and you're slinging 11 flaccid, why aren't you wearing underwear?
Dude,
Also, why did we back this up and watch it slow-mo?
Dude, I don't feel like I could be out in public flopping around like that without people noticing.
Well, I don't know. Do we need to get out the SHOT Show photo?
Hey, did Barack ever comment on these videos?
No. He has called her Michael in several speeches.
He said, you've got to ask the president, does anything scare him?
Well, when when Michelle's mad, I get worried. Michael and I also want to acknowledge your son Jack, who's deployed today.
Hey, you know who was going to comment on it? The guy they found in the river.
Yeah, they could, yeah.
All I know is that if a dude was flopping around like that, it would end up on the internet. You know. All right, we move on.
Moving on.
I got better things to think about.
I hope your breath stay with a dookie smell. I hope soon as you get them done, bitch, you break every fucking nail. I hope you wake up and realize you gotta tell. I hope when Jesus come, you the only person there he send to hell. I hope your kids go to school and just fail. I hope you open a mailbox every day and that bitch ain't got no.
I would love
that.
Fuck yeah.
Hey, I'll take that last one.
Just the no mail part?
Yeah.
No mail.
No mail.
Who is
That
this
was
guy?
so great. God.
I don't know, dude, but he's so dark
Bravo.
and he's so angry.
Look.
It just cracks me up.
Granted, he's got talent. Okay. But that first line, dude, that's the.
Yeah. I hope your breath
Dookie
stinks
smell?
with a dookie smell. That's how he opens up.
That first line is just legendary, dude. You know this is a banger when he drops that.
He doesn't see anything what he's talking about. Like he wants mail in his mailbox. He's a kid. He doesn't know. He wants mail in his mailbox. You don't want mail in your mailbox, bro.
Yeah.
You don't want mail in your
I love
mailbox.
all of that. You're so focused on the mail.
Yeah.
I hate mail. It's always the IRS or
Yeah.
freaking Arizona Department of Economic Security.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of here.
Junk.
Yeah. Well,
Coupons.
it's either junk or they want money.
Dude, he's just so bitter, dude.
Yeah, I got, yeah.
I'm just bitter to his bitterness.
I mean, hey, 112,000 likes.
I love how the most animated you've got so far this whole time, Ryan, is the mail thing. You don't want mail? Screw your mail.
He doesn't even know what he wants in life. Must be a Democrat.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
I shit it in a tissue, just like we all touch shit before.
No, I've never shitted in a tissue before.
You touch shit every single day if you shit. Like, you don't wipe yourself? It got shit in the tissue when you wipe yourself.
Why are you touching the shit? The tissue is for the shit.
So you telling me that y'all just let the doodle fall in the toilet? Y'all don't catch it every time?
I am about to leave, bro.
How do y'all take a shit? I must have seen this shit wrong.
My nigga.
I've been catching my shit all these years.
Nah, I'm more disgusted than I feel like I can't continue. My stomach
So
is
hold on,
turning.
so y'all just sit there and shit come right out? No way.
Yo, you shit in your hand, bro?
With tissue.
The moon landing is more believable than this.
Dude, I don't know. I don't think that guy's faking it. I think
faking
somebody
it.
lied to him when he was little.
Dude, just logic.
This guy,
Just logic.
this
He's
guy,
30 in his mid-30s.
He wipes back to front, for sure. For sure.
Well, who knows? I mean, he's catching it.
Maybe he doesn't even
dookie.
wipe.
Who knows
He
what
might
his
not even
process
wipe.
is for wiping? Yeah.
I mean, we've all taken that one where you had maybe some Metamucil the night before and it comes out saran wrapped and it's just clean, plop in the toilet, and you're like, that was easy.
Dude.
Yeah.
I
But
think the
this
funniest
guy-
part of that clip is that chick. She is the best, dude. She's like, you doo-doo in your own hand? Bro, I can't even continue this interview. But no, I think that guy was fully sincere.
I like how he says, I shitted. 2 T's, ED. I shitted.
It's the best type of past tense.
I like that, yeah.
All right, I think that's actually our last one.
Oh, boo.
We're going to end on that?
I know, on the shitted guy.
Shit in the tissue.
I want to watch that one.
And why is he using tissue and not toilet paper?
Yeah.
See, that's why I'm saying it's fake.
I don't think so.
It's more fake.
Watch
than
this.
the
Like
moon landing.
he
The
looks so
9/11.
caught off guard that he's been doing this wrong. I think somebody lied
Why
to him.
would you not, like, let's say you have a brain. Let's say you have a brain. And you sit on a toilet.
There's just
Why would you catch it?
Somebody might have just lied to him.
Yeah, but at some point you go, you know what? It's easier just to not
There's
catch it
just-
because I'm
yeah,
going to put it
there's
in there
just-
anyway.
There's just something in human nature that feels wrong about shitting in your own hand, tissue or not.
I could totally see Steve doing that. Oh, you don't shit in your hand?
I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I've been known to mislead some people at times for sport.
What if he has a fucking diarrhea? You just how does that work? It's not always
I
just
think
super
most
solid
times-
coming
With
out.
tissue.
Yeah, I think most times you know. Like you can, like, you know, when you're just,
You know what?
you're
I got
just-
fucking shit all over my arm from this diarrhea this Taco Bell ate last
I
time.
think
Maybe
most
I should
times-
just let it go in the toilet.
I feel like we're missing some details here. Is it just when he's got a solid poo, or is it because you know, right? When you're sitting here, we're just having a good old time conversation, and you get that one little, oh,
I feel like if you're
Oh, that's not going to be a regular poop. That's diarrhea.
Yeah, you can't. It can't be both. You've got to be so dumb to go 30 something years in your life and go, "This is the way to do it. I'm going to poop in my hand." Nobody poops in their hand. Not
hold
even
on a second here.
And you're not catching it with tissue based on how bubbly your guts are. You're doing it every time.
Yeah, so like imagine having diarrhea. It's everywhere. Oh yeah, that was a good idea.
Yeah, how do you even grab like your next wad of toilet paper?
You heard my story this morning.
Yeah, I did.
Did you hear my story this morning,
No.
Chris? 6:45 this morning, a 40-something-year-old lady with abdominal pain calls, and we show up.
Uh-oh.
Husband goes, "She's up there." Okay, that's weird. We go up the stairs, and as soon as we get up the stairs, there's a bathroom, and it's like there was like a threshold. There was like a imaginary. As soon as you get there, you're like, oh, this is going to be bad. This is some severe abdominal pain. And you peek around in the toilet. She's laying in the bathtub, like she's birthing, water running, dew all over her legs, liquid all over the floor.
Did she catch it?
No.
Did she catch
She was practicing her catching.
I think she couldn't even catch. She couldn't even make it to the toilet. Even if she's going to try to catch it, she didn't make it. And it was like,
So was she running around naked and just goes all over the floor? Or?
Had a shirt on, which I also found weird when we decided we were like, you need to walk. You need to get downstairs. We're going to take you. And she says, I can't walk. And we go, we're standing on towels. We put towels down. Those are ruined. You burn those now. But I'm like, we're standing in your shit. You're walking. We're not picking you up.
How did her shit get on the floor?
She missed. It was all over.
But no, the
She
question
was
is
liquid, and she missed the toilet. She was running to the bathroom. She missed.
Yeah,
the toilet.
but when you miss the toilet, usually it's in your pants.
She wasn't wearing pants.
Why not? The husband doing her dirty, and then
Maybe that's how she rolls.
Ryan.
Maybe that's how she rolls, or maybe
I'm just gonna take my.
maybe there was some beehole stuff going on. He just worked something loose. He just worked something loose.
That's the question of the hour. Did you
And
talk to the husband?
I
Did you
didn't,
interview?
but like I said, I've got seniority on everybody on the truck, so I said I'll be downstairs. You guys let me know when she's on her way
So
down.
there's a paramedic call over severe diarrhea.
Oh yeah, which diarrhea is a BLS. That's an EMT call. That's not a paramedic call. So she comes down. She says, "Hey, she's coming down," and I look up, still not wearing pants. I'm like, "You can put some pants on. You come downstairs. You're just shirt cocking it coming downstairs. Like you're just. I got to go to the bathroom again. It's coming out hot."
She said those words.
Hot. Yeah. Lava. Magma. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to blow some magma.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Not. I thought about quitting this morning. I thought this is my last day. This is how I go out. My last day. I'm not ever. This is.
But could you imagine just being that person?
So there's.
I'm gonna call the fire department because I'm shitting hot.
I told the.
Why isn't it in the toilet?
Yeah.
Brace your urethra for turbulence. Straight into hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
Poop is always a good subject to talk about.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I did just fart.
All right. Well, with that, that's a good time to wrap it up.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you guys. Yeah, it was fun.